In this part of the GCSE to A-level bridging, I'm going to look at rearranging equations, or changing the subject, or may even be called transposition of formulae. What we're going to do is look at changing the subject, and I'll do a brief video on this as there's a one-stop tutorial that's gone into some depth. So we'll do a bit and then I'll link that off to sort of enhance the understanding. Let's look back to the following. The volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. That is the volume expressed in terms of the radius. We may be asked to express the radius in terms of the volume. All we have to do this is play by a couple of rules. Essentially it's BODMAS, or order of operations, or BIDMAS, PEMDAS, PEDMAS, whatever you want to call it, backwards. I want R to be the subject of the formula. Everything that doesn't have an R in, I'm going to get on the other side. Now there's no addition or subtraction between the two, so I'm simply going to divide the whole, both sides, by the 4/3 pi r cubed. So I'm going to have the volume divided by 4/3 pi r, pi is going to equal r cubed. So now I've got r cubed as v over 4/3 pi. To tidy this up, I can bring the 3 up into the numerator and write 3v over 4 pi is equal to r cubed, where r is the radius and v is the volume. To finish off, I can do the cube root of both sides, and that's going to give me cube root in r cubed, will just give me r, and then we'll be left with 3v over 4 pi. So now I've expressed r in terms of v. So if we were given a volume and we wanted the radius, then we could find the radius. If we got a volume and we want the if we got a radius and we want the volume, then we can do that. So that's rearranging it. And as I say, the lengthy tutorial looks at doing this, but all you're trying to do is think, how did it start off? Let's look at r. R got cubed, and then it got multiplied by 4/3 pi. Therefore, by undoing that, we're just working backwards. So the first move is divide it by 4/3 pi, and then cube root it. So if you think r, what happened to r? R, then it become r cubed, then it become 4/3 pi r cubed. So it started off, it got cubed, and it got multiplied by 4/3. So to work it backwards, we need to go back and divide it by 4/3 pi, and then cube root it, and we'll be where we want to be. So let's look at some very straightforward examples. On this one, we want to make y the subject. So y has had z added to it and then divided by 2. So logic says we multiply both sides by 2 and we get 2x is equal to y plus z, and then we simply subtract z from both sides, so it becomes 2x minus z is equal to y, and now y is the subject of that formula. I've just reversed BODMAS or BIDMAS, or just the order of operations. Now let's look at something a little cheeky. This one here, p, is equal to 2r minus q, and that's over 3s. Now there's nothing here between the 3 and the s. I can simply swap places with the s and the p. I can rewrite this as s is equal to 2, where are we, 2v, sorry, 2r, isn't it, 2r minus q over 3. I'll explain what I've done. I've multiplied both sides by s, and obviously multiplying this side by s means it cancels it out. And then in one move I've divided both sides by the p, so the p can now come down here. So we get s is equal to 2r minus q over 3p. We're allowed to do that. We can simply swap them over, as long as there's no addition or subtraction between them. I've multiplied both sides by s, divided both sides by p. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. Okay, this one here, we've got 5w is equal to 1/3 the quantity 3v minus 2u, and we want to make u the subject. Now if you think about u, it started its life off, it got multiplied by -2, it had 3v added to it, and it got divided by 3, and that was the same as 5w. So let's undo that. Multiply both sides by the 3. 15w is equal to 3v minus 2u. At this stage we can do a couple of things right now. I'm going to simply say we're going to, in fact, let's play by the rules. We're going to subtract the 3v from both sides. So 15w minus 3v is equal to minus 2u, and we are making u the subject right here. Okay, I'm going to just simply divide both sides by minus 2. So we're going to get 15w minus 3v all over negative 2 is equal to w. And you can of course tidy this up. If you want, what you would end up with now is 3v minus 15w over 2. Okay, if we just run the negative through here, it's exactly the same as, and that should equal u, shouldn't? That's a u before it looks like a w. So you're just reversing BODMAS. Right, let's look at some slightly more challenging examples. What I've got here is 3 over b is equal to 1 over b plus 1 over c. Our ideal is to get the b's on one side and isolate them. 3 over b minus 1 over b is equal to 1 over c. Common denominator, so 3 over b minus 1 over b is 2 over b. In the same way, 3/5 minus 1/5 is 2/5. And that's now equal to 1 over c. We can simply turn these now and turn them upside down. If you think about this, or we can cross multiply. If you want to cross multiply, if you prefer that, b can come up here and c can go up there. So multiplying both sides by b and multiplying both sides by c, we'll end up with 2c is equal to b. And you can try that if you like. You could have turned them upside down and said b over 2 is equal to c over 1, and then multiply both sides by 2. Let's look at this one right here. 4a is equal to b minus 3c over c. Now we have a c in the numerator and denominator, and we need to make c the subject. That means we've got to get it out of here. Multiply it by the c. 4ac is equal to b minus 3c. I want c's on one side to try and isolate them. 4ac plus 3c is equal to b. Everything on this side with c's in, everything on that side without. I can now factor a c out to give me 4a plus 3 is equal to b, and then simply divide by the contents of a bracket, b over 4a plus 3. And that's done. We've made c the subject of the equation. Now, let's look at one of the more challenging examples. On this one, we're asked to make x the subject. We've got 2 over root x is equal to 3 over 2y plus b over 2. Now, we can really take a huge liberty here, assuming we just simply wanted to evaluate and get x in its rawest form. If I take this as one whole quantity, I can just divide both sides by the quantity in the bracket and multiply up by the root x. So I could write this in an absolutely rawest form possible as the following. So it's going to be that quantity, and that's going to equal root x by multiplying both sides by the root x. So all I've done again is swap their places. Now, if that's the case, then if I square both sides, then I'm going to get 2 over 3 over 2y plus b over 2, wasn't it? There we go. And that's going to all be squared, and that's equal to x. If you left this as your answer and you were just asked to, it's unlikely in an A-level question that you'll simply be asked to make something the subject, but you may want to tidy this up. And the way that we could do that is combine the fraction, and that's fairly straightforward. 2y is the lowest common multiple, so you combine the fraction and go for out. So if I combine this bottom fraction, I'm going to have 3 plus by over 2y, and then that's all over, all under 2. All I've done here is combined this fraction. Let's see, yeah, that's fine, just need to multiply it by, that's fine. Then we can bring up, of course, the 2y into the numerator, 4y over 3 plus by, and then that is exactly the same, and that's what x would be. Okay, so that's your choice, but ultimately this gives you exactly the same numeric answer. I'd say most of these are the ones that I've spent quite some time looking at on the other video. So this is probably just an overview. If you want some deeper stuff, there's probably half an hour tutorial on it. Okay, let's make u the subject of this one. What we've got is 3v is equal to 9 over u squared. First thing we can do is swap their places. So automatically u squared is equal to 9 over 3v. The 9 and 3 will cancel. U squared is equal to 3 over v. Now here's one of the major learning points here. To make u the subject, I've got u squared. I must square root both sides, and that gives rise to plus or minus the root of 3 over v. Don't get caught out. It can be a positive or negative value. If we think about the graph of x squared, if you've got a quadratic graph like so, then the negative value squared will give rise to the same positive value. So if this was minus 2 and this was positive, they will still give the same. So if you're square rooting, you're going to get a positive or negative. So there's a brief overview. As I say, do watch the longer tutorial, as I don't want to dwell too much on this, but hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into rearranging equations.